Adrienne.
All right, Brooke, thank you very much. Let's bring in a panel. Michael Caputo, former spokesperson for the Department of Health and Human Services under former President Trump and Chief Communications Officer for Americano Media. And then Michael LaRosa, former press secretary for First Lady Jill Biden and special assistant to President Biden. I'm going to have to call you both by your last names because you're both Michaels. So it's not a formality, but thank you. I'll start with you, Mr. Caputo. How will today's announcement impact the GOP, especially as some members of the party grapple with whether the former president is to blame for some of those key midterm losses?
Well, I think the idea that Donald Trump was going to run again has been baked into this whole equation for quite some time now. He's been flirting with it for months. And, there's nothing like a Trump tease, to bring people to the screen to watch it. And I think the American people are going to get exactly what they expect today, and that is Donald Trump announcing his reelection. How does that impact the Republican race for president in 2024? It really is up to the people that who think they want to challenge him. Like, for example, the previous tape, Vice President Pence, I think he'll run. I live in Florida. I moved down here after the Trump administration because of the governor here, Ron DeSantis. I love him as my governor. And if he ran, it would be a very interesting race. Let's face it, as much of a Trump supporter as I am, and I'm down to my marrow, a Trump guy, Ron DeSantis put up some impressive numbers on Election Day, and he can make the case that he is a federal level candidate. The question he has to ask himself is, what was Donald Trump's endorsement worth, which made him, by most political estimations, the governor of New York? The Republican Party is up for a primary, I think. We always try to avoid them, but we always get them, and we always come back together in the end.
Mm-hmm. Michael LaRosa, what does his running mean for Democrats? Is this a gift to galvanize your base, or could the party risk underestimating his appeal as they did in 2016?
Oh, it's a gift. Every time the former president is back on the scene, the more we're talking about him, the more the media is talking about him, the better it is for Democrats. As we saw in the midterm election, Democrats took independent voters again for the third straight election in a row. Republicans are really going to have to decide if they want to follow Donald Trump down another losing path. He lost them the House. He lost them the Senate twice. He lost them the White House. I just don't understand why they would want to support somebody who keeps losing elections for them.
Mr. Caputo, I know that you brought up Ron DeSantis earlier, but I want to revisit that because there are a lot of people who would say he has presidential marrow, but he's not yet developed to the point of running for president. Is it a moment for former President Trump to, make America great again? Or is this Ron DeSantis's moment to shine, a young man, 44 years old, who many say is the true leader or a better suited leader of the Republican Party?
Well, it's an interesting time for the Republican Party. Mike notes that as well. I've been in this game for 40 years, and I've never been in a primary that wasn't exciting. Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis represent two very different candidate models. Ron DeSantis is kind of the next generation. Donald Trump is coming up as a presidential candidate, trying to return America to where he left it, to a much healthier economy, a much stronger job numbers, and all the things that he brought to us. The interesting thing is, Ron DeSantis, as my governor, just got reelected as governor, and he's going to have to wait some time, right? He can't just come out in the next month and run. So other candidates are going to get in. We see former Secretary Pompeo, you see Nikki Haley, others who have talked about wanting to run. I think it's going to be a crowded primary and therefore somewhat divisive. In the end, however, history shows us that the Republican Party comes together. And even though Mike likes to think of it as a gift, I would love to see a Joe Biden-Donald Trump rematch because Joe Biden's not going to be able to campaign from his basement this time around.
Okay. What do you say to that?
I would just say, if you're looking at the last election, it really wasn't very close. President Biden won by over 8 million votes. It was probably, I think, maybe the 8th closest election in presidential history by historical standards. As Mitch McConnell said, it really wasn't that close. Democrats would be pretty supportive of another Trump one, especially when you see where independents go. Independents have been breaking for Democrats for the last 3 cycles now. We saw it again just the other night when most of Trump's candidates all lost. So he did something very special in American politics, Mr. Trump did. He managed to make a midterm election instead of about an unpopular incumbent and with a bad economy. He managed to make it a referendum on the party out of power and the president out of power instead of the party in power. That's never been done before. And it's been pretty historic to see this week.
Thank you.
Well, if you think the independents are always going to move your way, you ought to look at Hispanics, which are surging to the right and continue to surge to the right this time. The Democrat coalition is falling apart. The fact is the
electoral heard that for a little bit.
Well, I mean, the fact is the electoral system right now is disordered. We don't have election day anymore. We have election month. I'm not here to tell you that the election was stolen. We never see any evidence of any election chicanery for weeks, sometimes months. But we have a system that is leaning into the Democrat Party now. Either the Republicans learn how to run in this kind of disordered electoral system, or we're going to continue to lose. And of course, the Democrats won on the messaging. The pollsters were wrong. The abortion issue ended up mattering. Even among Hispanics, females tended to vote Democrat because of the abortion message.
And we thank the former president for his Supreme Court picks and doing that for us.
And we like it too. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.